to this to today's webinar. And can you just shortly, please, let me just. Can you just please give me a feedback how well you can hear me and whether everything works fine with you? We'll be waiting like 2 to 3 more minutes to some latecomers. Okay, thanks Natalie for feedback. How is everyone? We are pretty safe in the Czech Republic with the COVID, because I think it's Dennis for the feedback, because we took the precautions pretty early, so there are very few cases. But how is in your countries? Okay, thanks. So let's start. Today we'll be talking about the cold chain monitoring solutions using SimplePack and Simple Industry. Thanks for attendance, and good morning to Latin America, and good evening to Japan and Australia, or even good night for some of you. This video recording, this webinar will be video recorded, and the presentation will be available right after the webinar. And I have like 19 slides, so we should be around 30 minutes, and then there will be a space for your question and answers. So it should be a quick webinar, not a very long one. And I really recommend, if you haven't seen it yet, to look at the basics of the cold chain monitoring. We have this YouTube recording and presentation where I describe what is the business, what are the business cases, what are the use cases, what it means, what is, for instance, the difference between accuracy and resolution. A very important concept in cold chain monitoring. Today I will be more concentrating on the devices and all the updates that we've got into the firmware in the devices, than on the basic concept of the cold chain monitoring. So please, it's very important to understand it and to do proper either POC or free deployment in this area. What we are currently offering, or what we are doing in the cold chain monitoring, are two very distinctive areas. One is the area of ambient temperature monitoring, and one is the precise temperature monitoring. I will mention shortly the ambient temperature monitoring. It is done in such a way that we measure the temperature of the MCU and we report that one. A big advantage is that it doesn't need to have any external sensor, any specific chip on the PCB or on an external sensor on a wire. It's not very precise, not very accurate. We are about 2 degrees Celsius. It's not calibrated and cannot be calibrated, but it's free of charge, and it's okay when you want to have a warning that, for instance, if you have a leakage detector and you want to combine it with the warning that the sub-zero temperature is coming, so antifreeze solutions, or if you want to report that the room temperature is really out of normal. So those are the type of application where the ambient temperature, non-precise monitoring can be used. And what is important to understand is that when I'll be talking about the different modes, so the modes are supporting both ambient temperature and precise temperature. So you can take advantage of the ambient temperature even in the specific temperature measuring modes. We have a lot of devices that are ready for the precise temperature monitoring. We have this. We have SimplePack 4.0. We have SimplePack. We have SimpleMeter. We have Simple Industry, and we have embedded solutions. And I will be talking into more details about that one. You probably have seen already the SimplePack with internal sensors. They can be used quite often. They can be even, for instance, taped to the pipes or taped to the object, so they are working very, very precisely. The only issue with the SimplePack is because it's IP68 rated, so the reaction time in air is around 4 minutes. T50 is around 4 minutes. So if you want to have real-time sub-minute interval monitoring, you cannot do it with an IP68 device because the probe is inside, and it takes some time the temperature to transfer from outside to inside. But for some use cases, when you really need a really small device, so we started to produce SimplePack with holes. So it's no longer IP68 rated, but it can measure temperature and humidity, and the reaction time depends more on the airflow. A really nice use case now where we do beehive temperature monitoring, and it's working really nice with the SimplePack because you need to have a small device, and the battery life it's okay. So for some use cases, SimplePack with holes can be used as well. Then we have a class of device that's called SimpleMeter. It's basically an indoor temperature and humidity monitor. 100,000 messages, 10 years battery life. The batteries are included already, so you don't need to purchase additional batteries. On wall holder is included, so the fixture to the wall is very easy. And the new thing about SimpleMeter is that we have redesigned a little bit the casing, and now the batteries are replaceable, and you can also use rechargeable batteries. So you don't need to have, if your project requires rechargeable batteries, so you can have those inside. And the third type of devices that we have is the Simple Industry. That's a new class of casings where we are using polycarbonate casing and new batteries where we can go in temperatures from -40 degrees to 150 degrees, depends on the use case. Again, 100,000 messages out of it, IP68 IKEA ready, so very sturdy device, very industrial ready for any kind of industrial usage. Again, replaceable batteries, rechargeable batteries. What is important is to understand that it can be combined with Wi-Fi positioning, with orientation, reporting, shock detection, read switch detection, tilt detection, any kind of movement detection, external switch on the gyroscope. So we have inside the Simple Industry, you don't need only to measure the temperature, but you can report on more sensors at the same time. And for Simple Industry, we have three major variation. One is a Simple Industry with on the case temp probe. It's a very small blue dot that you can see on the picture. It's actually the temperature probe. It has sub-second reaction times. It's very, very fast. It's waterproof. And we are using this in really big use cases, and even for some fire reporting stuff. So this is a really nice and compact device with instant temperature reporting. And then we have we have two devices that we switched the description here. One is the Simple Industry with two external pipe probes. You can see this in the left picture, especially for Legionella monitoring. And we can also have any type of external temperature probe. So it doesn't have to be pipe probe, but it can be another type of any type of NTC probe. So this is ready, and it's industrial ready. We just put the mold product. The mold is currently being produced, so we'll have the casings. The PCBs are ready, and we'll have the casings within a few weeks. And least but not last, we have this embedded series. Some of the customers want to incorporate our platform, our devices directly into their casings, into their solutions in the production. So we are able to provide them project-based. We are able to provide the platform to customers, and we are able to add some custom hardware configuration to it. So we are flexible, and we have a couple of customers that are using our embedded solutions. That was part of the hardware, and now come to firmware, because we think that, especially with Sigfox, you need to have not only good radio performance, but you also need to have smart devices because of the limitations in the payload size and the limitation of the battery life. So very often and very important is to understand why you want to do actually, why you want to measure the temperature, and what should trigger the measurement, what should trigger recording of the measurement, what should trigger sending of the data, what redundancy reliability are you looking for. So those are really the questions, and I was talking about that one more in the first webinar. Those are really crucial questions that needs to be answered before starting any thinking, not only about devices, but also into which mode to put the device into. We have quite a few options in the firmware how to measure the temperature, but the main three concepts are measuring, are reporting on temperature change, reporting on threshold overstepping, and reporting in predefined time intervals. So those are the three major. They can be combined. It's very important to understand that they can be combined together. And for instance, you can report the temperature each hour, but if a threshold is stepped over, so you don't need to wait for the whole hour, but you can report the temperature overshoot immediately. So that's very important to understand. The first one is the report temperature change. You know, it's the smart modes are a little bit difficult to explain because people are used to the dumb devices, to the data loggers. Well, they don't understand what they are doing, and they are just recording temperature each minute or each hour, and they don't care what the temperature is. We think that with IoT and with smart devices, the devices should behave a little bit more intelligently in order to save the battery life and in order to save the number of messages that you are using. So, for instance, if you have a room temperature that doesn't change, you have 25 degrees in the room all the time, it doesn't make sense to send each 5 minutes 25, 25, 25, because you are only interested when the temperature changes. So the first mode is basically a change alert, where you'll get the messages. So we can measure it each 10, 20 seconds or each minute, but you'll get the alerts only if there is a temperature change, substantial temperature change. For instance, if you go from the night to day regime, or if employees leave the offices, so then you only report the changes of the temperature. So you can cut down the number of messages really down, and the device can last on the batteries really for 10 years, even if you are measuring the temperature each minute. because the temperature measurement itself is it doesn't consume anything. What is the most energy intensive task is sending the message. In this mode, you can also use redundant messages. You know that Sigfox network, as any other network, is not 100% reliable. So if you need more reliable data, it makes sense to send redundant messages to do error correction. And we support, in this mode, we support also redundant messages, so you can afford to lose several messages in a row, and the platform is then able to reconstruct all the data from the lost messages. Because basically we are repeating the same kind of information in each of the message. The second mode, it's about threshold overstepping, and it's let's take the example of the fridge, where you have you want the fridge to work between 2 degrees and 8 degrees. And whenever you step over the 2 degrees or 8 degrees, you want to be warned that there was an overstep on this threshold. You can, in the firmware, you can set up not only 2 thresholds, but even 3 different thresholds, and you are always warned whether the threshold was stepped over in which direction. So whether you went from 2 degrees below, or you went from 2 degrees up. So, and there's also a high hysteresis, so you can, if the temperature, for instance, is oscillating around 2 degrees, so you don't get messages all the time, you can set high hysteresis, so you can set how much the overstep needs to be in order to be reported. And again, for this mode, we have redundant variation, and we can send redundant messages in order to be able to reconstruct data from lost messages. Then we have added, mainly as a requirement from the customers, we have added a third mode, which is periodic time measurements. We are a little bit repeating what the dumb, stupid data loggers are doing, but we want to do it in a little bit smarter way. Sometimes, because of the regulatory requirements, you cannot use the delta change, but you want to have really reading of the temperature each 5 minutes, even if it's the same. So we have a mode where you can set how often you want to measure the temperature. So let's say you want to measure it each 20 seconds, because you want to be sure that if the temperature reaches a threshold, or if there's a big change in the temperature, if the fire is imminent, so you get the warning immediately. You don't wait for 5 minutes till the next measurement. So you can measure each 20 seconds. Then you do the recording each 5 minutes, because the regulatory requirements ask you to do 5 minutes recordings. And then you aggregate those three recordings into one message, and you send a message each 15 minutes with the last 3 temperature recordings. So you save, instead of sending the information each 5 minutes, you aggregate it, and you send a lot of energy by aggregation into it. Plus, you can add to the payload, you can add past 2 messages. So if 2 messages get lost, the IoT platform again can reconstruct all the data. And all those parameters, so what are all the timings, how many messages you want to aggregate, how many messages you want to have redundant, this is all configurable via downlinks. So you are totally free to configure it precisely to your use case. You can't hear me now? I'm sorry, Max. Is it better now, or is it how is it doing? Okay. You know, we are in those times. It seems that the connectivity can be sometimes an issue. But if I'll continue. And Then, besides the hardware, besides the firmware, we together with IOFrog, we are all the modes and all the devices are directly supported by the IOFrog platform. So you can see history of all the measurements. You can set up the devices directly from IOFrog through user interface. So you don't need to type in the hex codes into the downlink. So you can configure it from IOFrog. And IOFrog also supports all the visualization, all the data that you need. It also supports mobile applications. So you have there's an application for Apple and an application for Android. So if you want to do any kind of dashboards, reporting, or you can also use IOFrog as a middleware, where you want to push your already pre-processed data. You want to push it into Azure platform, to Microsoft IoT Event Hub, to SAP, or to any platform that you want to use. So IOFrog doesn't need to be end of the data, but it can be a middleware that sits, parses the data, manages the devices, and then you push the data through microservices or through API. You push it into the final destination. And IOFrog is working. It's the same way as we are continuously developing the hardware and firmware, the same with IOFrog. So if you would have any case-specific requirements, don't hesitate to contact us or IOFrog, and we'll be happy to adjust it to your use case. Again, and one more thing, IOFrog also can be white labeled, so it can be branded into your colors, into your design, and you can sell it as a complete solution. The same way as with our devices, so we do branding, custom branding of the devices. So it's very easy to construct a complete package out of it and to sell it as a complete solution. So for more information, please, we have a support website which is called ask.simplehw.eu. We have cold chain monitoring white papers, we have tables there, we have comparisons there, we have some comparisons there with other cold chain monitoring devices in the market in Sigfox. So please have a look at it. If you would need to help in choosing proper device, or configure it, we have sites that's called guru.simplehw.eu, where we have questionnaires or we have guides that you fill it in, and we will come to you back with the best proposal, either for the hardware or for the configuration of the hardware or for the use case. What's on the roadmap? We are currently working on 4 things that should be, all of them should be coming this year. We are working on local over-the-air broadcast configuration and firmware updates. That should be most probably the first thing coming in the summer time frame. So you don't need to rely on the Sigfox downlink in order to configure the device, but you'll be doing, you purchase 1,000 devices, you want to configure them massively, so you'll be able to configure it immediately on your premises or through the firmware update. Then we have a special project where we'll be adding GPS into the Simple industry, and it should be GPS that's pretty much Sigfox specific, so combining, behaving in a smart way. Then we are very diligently working on machine learning, because for some of the use cases we need edge computing. As we are limited by the data stream of Sigfox, you want to do the proper analysis, what's happening directly on the device or on the sensor, and not to transfer all the raw data from the device. So, for instance, if you want to I don't know how whether it would work with cold chain, but actually it could even work for cold chain, because if you have, for instance, a fridge, so the fridge can be there's a big temperature fluctuation if you open and close the fridge. So, for instance, the artificial intelligence can distinguish between a fridge being down completely or being broken, and a pattern where you would be just opening and closing the fridge. That's just an example, but we are more working with machine intelligence, with machine learning and artificial intelligence in the frame of accelerometers, where we are able to detect different movement patterns and report directly the type of movement or type of action in preventive maintenance. So that's what we are working at. And then it's a little bit delayed. We wanted to have CO2 sensors and CO sensors on the simple meter a little bit early on. But it's coming, but we know how to do it, but we can do everything at the same time. So CO2 and CO sensors would be coming most probably by the end of this year. And I was pretty quick. I was 25 minutes. So we have time for your questions and remarks and ideas. Please raise them. I will repeat it for everyone. And in the meantime, I would like to invite you to more webinars that we are planning. The first thing that we had on Monday, we had a webinar with Sigfox. So please look at the recording if you haven't seen it. I think it was quite interesting. We had a lot of attendees. So the Sigfox webinar, it's available online, both the presentation and the YouTube recording. The coming webinars are geolocation services using IOFrog platform. It will be April 23rd. Then we'll be talking about simple hardware embedded solutions and how to put embedded solutions directly in the production lines. And we'll have also a Legionella monitoring solution description of webinar in May timeframe. If you would like to hear some more webinars, again, don't hesitate to give us any idea what you would be interested at. Do we have any questions? If not, I will thank you for your attendance. You can always email me at pavel@sodomka.cz if you have any question, any specific questions. And with that, I would conclude, and thanks for your attention. And I hope you'll stay safe, and we'll see each other at some events in the autumn timeframe. So have a nice morning, afternoon in Europe and Africa, and have a nice evening in Japan and Australia. Thank you. Goodbye.